everybody. Welcome to TraderMerlin. It is your weekend edition. Hope you had a great trading week out there. Cheers to everybody. It's a little Angels envy this week. The way the day finished for me was very nice. Put a little exclamation point on the week. Got a nice little chunk of change for the weekend, so I'm pretty happy. I hope you are as well. And yes, thank you guys. I see we got a bunch in here. Tom and Terry, Gayer, Mario, Tomasina, Jesus. Greetings from the Caribbean. Where are you at in the Caribbean, my friend? I'm hoping. I don't know. I haven't been to Cuba yet. I was just in Puerto Rico. I've been to Jamaica. I've been to the Yucatan Peninsula. But where are you at in the Caribbean? And yes, Jorge, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. It was funny. I was sitting with a friend of mine talking about how much time and effort gets put into doing this show, not only every day, but also the weekend editions on Saturday and on Sunday for no pay whatsoever. So it's a lot of work, but I love doing it, and you guys are always here and supportive. So thank you guys so much. I do appreciate it as well. All right. Let's see. Let's start things off with this trading week. It was a rather choppy one, right? We had a decent Monday, a crazy Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday were just kind of sideways and uneventful. So a little bit of a choppy week. A lot of that had to do with earnings and economic announcements. Now today, Puerto Rico. I loved it. I was just there, spent the Christmas time in Puerto Rico. Beautiful. Unfortunately, it didn't go over most of the island. I did San Juan, and I did the El Yunque National Forest. That was pretty cool too. So today's news was a bit interesting. I actually thought we'd see a bit more of a reaction to it. For those of you who've been following along, I've been talking about Friday's announcement for retail sales, and I thought that would be one of the more, let's just say, significant announcements for the week. I'm going to jump around here and go. I have a bunch of different slides all set up for today, but I'm going to jump to the economic calendar for today, which was this one. And most of the economic announcement stuff that came out wasn't that bad. I mean, you saw, like here, non-farm productivity, huge increase in non-farm productivity, also a massive increase in labor costs, so those two kind of go hand in hand. You saw the one number that really jumped out to me, though, was this retail sales number. Is that they actually upped the expectation from the time we did the show to the release. They were expecting it to be 1.9%. They moved it to 2%, and we actually came out at 1.2%. So a little bit of a disappointment there with regards to retail sales. When you strip out food and energy, it actually was a increase that beat expectations. But I actually thought we would have the retail sales numbers above that 1.9% mark. We missed it, and that should be a sign of negativity. Thought that might have a little bit more of a negative impact on today's markets, but it didn't really do it, right? It did not. It didn't have the impact I thought. So all in all, earnings or economic announcements weren't that impactful today. Now, what was impactful for this week, and I'm sure some of you guys saw it, we had great earnings for the week. They were great earnings. Almost everybody is having blowout beating all estimates. And of course, we know that they're dropping their expectations so low, so that hurdle is easy to cross. That said, the vast majority of companies this week reporting earnings beat it by a long shot. You had NEO, you had Cisco Systems, the technology firm, beat earnings. You had Cisco food packaging company beat earnings. You had Tencent, you had Wheaton Precious Metals, you had AMAT, you had Baidu. These are some major names that all beat earnings this week. And it's interesting because my mindset was really that we were going to see negative earnings. We're going to see some bad earnings announcements. That just never came to fruition. I feel something fishy is going on there, but you know what? Whatever. It's my trade. I'll take the loss on it. Yes, Zohrab, I will talk about cryptos a little bit later on. I am, as those know, a big fan of the crypto space. So we had great earnings. Next week, we have a ton of really important earnings. I know it's not your Facebook, Microsoft, Cisco, or that type of stuff. No Amazon, no Apple. But there are big retail names next week reporting. I'll talk about that at the end of the show today. So let me go to some listener questions. I want to get to as many as I can today. There were a couple really good ones that came through, so let me see if I can bring this up here. My thing's frozen. There we go. I'll start with this one because this one just came in. And this is from Heath. He says, I shorted JKHY right at the close of today at 194.75, stop loss at 196.15. Now, I want to just look at this one because there's a couple different pieces to it. First, I've never traded this company, so we'll type in the ticker symbol, which is JKHY. I've never traded this one, so I can't tell you I don't even know what they do. Don't particularly care. What I want to do is add on volume here just to let you know if it would even qualify. Okay, right away, I wouldn't be trading this one simply because the average volume is under 500,000, so this would be a no trade for me. That said, your rules might be different. So if we look at this from a technical perspective, you guys notice right at the top, it's actually forming a pretty nice pattern. This is called a double top formation, and we only know it's a double top after the fact, right? If you look right now, you can see it hit the same high that we maxed out at. What date was that? It was on the 18th of March, or sorry, 18th of May, and we are literally to the dead number on it right now. That peak that we saw back in March was a high of 195.03, and today we hit an intraday high of 194.99. So you're basically 4 cents off that high. I'll pull it back to a monthly here just to see the bigger picture so we can all see clearly at all-time highs. Now, of course, Heath, if you're going short on this one, it's a really dangerous position to put yourself in because, as you can see, there really is only one direction that you should go with this, which is long. It's hard to look at something that on the monthly looks like this, on the weekly looks like this, and on the daily looks like this. I mean, it just looks really, really strong. So we look at things from a technical perspective, and I have to say, in normal situations, I would say it's worth it to take a shot at this one on a short. Only because you have an accelerated move into a supply zone that is all-time highs, and it had a pretty decent move away from it last time. It could have a nice sell-off. The one thing I really love about your question or your comment that you sent in, and this is probably the most important thing, I'll bring that up for the viewers at home. You mentioned right away, my stop loss is 196.15. So that's great. I think that's critical because this thing, you're most likely going to get stopped out of this just because the trend of the security is so strong. But you're willing to risk, let's see, $1.25 plus 15 is $1.40. You're willing to risk $1.40 on this trade. And I'll put a line above here, and we'll pull it down. Let's see. Come on. I think I get a new mouse. Mouse is messing. There you go. So there's your two lines. My only concern is that your stop loss being $1.40 away is probably going to get taken out very quickly. And the reason for that is let's just bring up ATR, which is something we talked about on past shows. If you go and add an average to range here, this thing's moving $4 a day, and your stop loss is $1.15, or sorry, $1.40. So you're most likely going to get stopped out. I do like this as a double top. What you could do is you could actually wait for confirmation. What I mean by that is wait for levels to come up to the zone that it's in. Maybe, Monday it moves up a little bit higher, and then once it starts to go back down out of this zone, then maybe that you take the trade there. That gives you a little bit of extra security, right, as opposed to being overly aggressive and most likely being stopped out. So all in all, not bad. You're going counter trend trade, which is bad, and you are shorting something at all-time highs, which of course is very risky, and you have something that's low volume. Those three things are not making this that desirable, but as long as you got a stop loss in place, I think it's worth a shot. Okay, let's see. The crypto discussion is going to go. It's going to get going here. I'm sure. I can see you guys already talking all the crypto stuff, so I'll do my best to get to the crypto session. So let me get through these listener questions. Number 2, and this is a pretty good one. This is from Jay Lopez on Twitter. He says, I am looking forward to taking the strategic investment course. What suggestions can you share and how to tackle trading psychology? So I wrote down a couple notes here about strategic investor. Now, for those that have watched this show long enough, I'm a stickler for planning out your personal finances. If you have problems with money, most likely it stems from one of those three variables, which is going to be income, your expenses, or your liabilities. And with those three numbers, and I'm not going to go in depth on that, we've done this show before. Joseph, I'm definitely no crypto king. If we look at those numbers, if you manage those three factors, which is income, expenses, and liabilities, and you get a positive number at the end of all that, then you're on the right track. So to me, as far as what suggestions you can look at for a strategic investor, if we're looking to grow our wealth, then obviously we have to have a plan in place. And we might all have different targets. For example, Brendan may be looking to buy a new home. We have Big Eb might be, I don't know Big Eb, I don't know how old you are, but maybe looking for retirement stuff. You could have somebody who's really young, like my friend Katie, who's saying, you know what, I don't even know how much to put into my 401ks or my IRA. So we all have different goals and objectives. And I guess the thing I would say for anybody thinking of strategic investor is make a list of all the things that you hope to achieve. Like, what do you want? Obviously, we all want bazillions of dollars in the bank. Make it something that's realistic, right? I want to pay for my kids' college. I want to buy a 3-bedroom, 4-bath home by this date. I want to have X amount of dollars in my retirement account by this date. And all of that should be with the plan well thought out beforehand, so we can start to build a plan to get to that end goal. Now, you may not know how to get to that end goal. That's what the whole point of Strategic Investor is. But I would say go in with an open mind. Many of the things that you've been taught about how these markets work is fundamentally wrong. It's hard to say that because you've been learning this stuff. Most of us have been learning this all our lives. Generally, what happens is the people that are feeding you information about how to invest and trade your money are the ones who directly benefit from you trading and investing your money. Meaning the banks, the institutions, the brokerage firms have been the ones telling you what to do with your money. And quite often, it's the wrong thing because that will benefit their firm, not necessarily you. So go in with an open mind and be willing to just absorb all the information. Don't be resisting, like, oh, well, that can't be, I learned this. Listen to it all and absorb it because it'll all make sense at the end when the cake comes out of the oven and you're going, okay, I get it now. Number 2 would be being really honest with yourself with regards to your capabilities and your personal numbers. And one of the things that I put into the course, which I think is critical, is early on in Strategic Investor, you're going to do an exercise where you map out your personal finances. You will map out your income, your expenses, and your liabilities, and basically saying, am I on top of these numbers? If you can't manage those numbers and understand where you're at, it's going to be very difficult for you to start to plan out any sort of financial future, because that financial future is a result of what? Disposable income. So if I take my income, let's say my income is $5,000 a month, and my expenses are $3,000 a month, and my liabilities are $2,000 a month, I have no money left over. I cannot put anything into accounts for the future. I cannot invest. I cannot grow. But if all of a sudden I find that end number is I have, let's say, $500 a month, now I can, maybe I take 100 of that and buy something to make me happy. The other 400 I put into investment accounts, and now I can start to put a plan in place to grow that. So we really have to be honest with our numbers. What I would recommend is before you even start taking Strategic Investor or any class, really, I think all of you should do it regardless of if you take that class or not, is you should sit down with a pen and paper and write 3 columns on that paper. Income, all the money you have coming in. Expenses, meaning everything you're spending on. I want magazine subscriptions. I want how much you tip the waitress at your local watering hole, how much you paid for those new face masks that you ordered from China. I want all of that written on your expenses list. And then liabilities. And be honest with those numbers. What else? I put down here, be honest with yourself. Like breaking down your financial life, meaning all the numbers and accounts. Other piece here would be listing all your goals, whether, again, that's retirement. And congrats, Big Eb, on their recent retirement. Consultant, yes. It's hard to retire and do nothing, right? And then I would say the final thing here is practice and practice and practice. You'll be working with a lot of formulas and a lot of spreadsheets and a lot of data that, may be overwhelming at the very beginning. I think you need to work and work and work to apply all this stuff. Just like somebody who gets an engineering degree, it takes a while to understand how these different formulas and different equations work best for me. Now, the second part of Jay Lopez's question here is, how do you tackle trading psychology? Not only can I answer this, but I'm sure that we have people in this room right now who would be able to add a lot on personal experiences. And, one of the things I try to bring to the show every day is my personal experiences, and psychology is a major one. I'm sure that many of you have heard me say things on this program that in your gut you're going, oh man, yep, I do that. Yep, I made that mistake. I mean, that's part of the process, is understanding that you're going to make the same mistakes that I made. Hopefully when you do, they're nowhere near as grave with regards to cost to you, right? I don't want you to, if I tell you the handle on the pot on the stove is going to burn you, I don't want you to just go grab it with both hands and bear hug that pot. I want you to back away from it and gently touch it. Okay, yep, Merlin's right. It's going to burn me. I will now go do something different. So, how do you deal with the psychology of trading? Number 1, it will be hard. It will be extremely hard. It will test every ounce of your mettle and might and brain power and emotions to succeed at this. Every one of us. Let me just ask the question to to the audience here. Has anybody that's in this room right now cried from a bad trade? It's just been so bad, you just hold your head in your hands and you're like, I can't believe this is happening, and you start shedding a tear. Has that happened to anybody in here? I'm hoping I get a resound bunch of yeses. Either that or you're just two manly men. But sometimes you take a loss and it just tears your heart out, right? And it frustrates you. It breaks you down psychologically. It's going to happen to every one of you. You're all going to go through periods you're like, I give up. I just can't do this anymore. I'm done. It will beat you up. Don't let it, right? That's just part of the game. It's trying to get you to quit, right? No, Mario, you haven't had a crying day? Yeah, you'll get there, buddy. You'll get there. The market is trying to get you to quit. Don't. Go back and learn from whatever mistakes it is that you made. Cried no, but I started looking for a fast forward button. You know, it's funny, Tom, you say that. I actually had a student once, and it was comical. He was in a bad losing trade with real money on the trading floor. And he kept turning his computer on and off. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I just want this trade to go away. And I'm like, this isn't PlayStation, man. You can't just hit the reset button and hope that the trade goes back to normal. Terry says, I never cry. You just haven't had a big enough loser, buddy. I may not have been crying, but I've definitely had my moments where I've held my head in my hand and just wanted to go jump off a bridge or something. You're like, this is just horrible. I'm telling you, it's going to happen to everybody. So you just got to be careful. Know that that's going to be coming. It will be very difficult. And it's not like all of a sudden it becomes miraculously easy and all of a sudden you never have any struggles. There will always be times where struggles do come up. Even someone like myself who's been doing this for 20 plus years. I mean, I'm on my 24th year of doing this. There are still periods of time where you're like, you got to be kidding me. You know, last week was a rough one for me. I had some pretty bad trades where I did everything right. And you're like, you got to be kidding me. It's perfect setup, perfect trade. And it still end up being losers. And you're like, okay, it is what it is. So part of you have to expect it's going to be hard. It's not going to be like you solve some puzzle and then you're guaranteed to make money the rest of your life every single day. It will not happen like that, guys. It is very, very challenging. It will not all be wins. You know, I know that people don't like me cursing on the program, but if you are a part of anybody's chat room or get emails or following somebody on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram and they start talking about how they're like 99% winners or they never lose, tell them to F off. Tell them you should slander those people because they are flat out lying. Nobody is going to win all the time. If you win all the time, you haven't traded. You've never made a trade because you can say I've never lost. That's the only time you could ever do it. We all go through losers, and it's just part of the game. We have to embrace the art of losing. And for someone like Jay Lopez who says, how do we tackle the psychology? I've used this example a million times on this program, and I know we have some new people here. Good to see you. I see we've got a couple of new people. I was actually kicked out of a YouTube channel because I was trying to help this guy out. So Tyrone is here with us today. I thought it was funny. I answered his question last Friday on ATR, and the group kicked me out because I was promoting this channel. Sorry. I'm trying to help people. All right. Let's see. I wrote down on the list part of trading psychology, learn to lose. Because it's something that's going to happen. And if you're driving down the road, and this is the example I was going to get to, we all want to make it to work hitting nothing but green lights. I mean, we've all done it, and finally you get to the office or wherever you're going, you're like, man, I hit every green light. I feel like going and buying a lotto ticket because it rarely happens. I think there's something like 9 or 10 red lights on the way to my office from my home when I go to the office. And I have had maybe in the last 10 years, 5 or 6 times where I've hit every green light. Normally, I'm going to hit 1 or 2, and that's trading. If you take, let's say there's 10 lights. Think of those as trades, right? Very rarely am I going to have 10 for 10 winning trades. If I get all 10, it's like, holy cow, I'm on fire right now. And I actually will start to push my bets because when you're on a roll, you're on a roll. But how many times have I had days where I've driven to that office and I hit every red light? And you get so frustrated with it, right? That's trading. It will happen. Regroup and learn from it. So be prepared to lose. Whatever number I'm on would be learning from your mistakes. I don't want people to get too concerned with how much money they're making. The psychology of trading, it tells you to be concerned with how much money you're making because that's the goal. That's why you're doing this, right? To make money? It's not. You're doing it to change your lifestyle. You're doing it from a profession. You should be doing this as approaching it from the perspective of, I am doing it to make a great trade. Structurally, fundamentally, technically, I want it to be a great trade. If that pays me, then that's great. But don't focus on the number. So in that, you want to identify your strengths and weaknesses. One of my biggest weaknesses is that I'm way too fast. I talk way too quick. My speech teacher in college told me I'd never be a public speaker. Hi, I've done more public speaking than my professor did from college by a long shot. You got to learn to work to your strengths, right? So if I speak too quickly, you find something that's high energy. Trading and investing, man. I'm high energy. I want to keep it exciting and have some fun doing it. So find out what your strengths and weaknesses are. If you don't know, here's an interesting one. Let me see if I can, you can actually go to YouTube or go to Google. Let me just check this out real quick. It's called the Big 5 Personality Test. And there's a bunch of free ones out there. Just type in Big 5 Personality Test. There are a ton of free ones. And this will give you a little bit of understanding of where your strengths and weaknesses lie, right? That I found this to be very beneficial. And one of the ones that I liked in here was about organization. Let's see if I can click this image. I think there actually might be an image here that would be very relative to what we're talking about. I don't know the website here. I apologize if there's some stuff that pops up we shouldn't see. Okay. So I want this image. This is actually from Wikipedia, and it talks about the Big 5 personality traits. I'm just going to walk through these real quick because the ones that I think are really critical and will separate you from the herd are, number one is openness. If you are not willing to change the way that you do something or change your perspective or attitude towards something, you have a real challenge. Because as all of you know, the markets will throw you curveballs, and you're just left going, what? How did that happen? Right? So make sure if you find through your personality test and those questions that you are not an open person, that you're kind of closed and stuck in your ways, you need to make some quick changes, and you need to make those changes rather quickly. What are the other ones? Extroversion isn't a big one. Agreeableness, I think, is a weakness as well. You don't want to agree with everything. I mean, you have to question everything. I think the more that we question things in the market, the more we're going to dig into the real reasons why things are happening. So Big 5 personality test is something you could do that will probably help you out, at least with a basic understanding. And as I mentioned before, if you don't know what your weaknesses are, then just open up a live account, put some money in there, and start trading. Because you will know within the first couple of trades, maybe first couple of weeks, exactly what your weaknesses are. You might be too stubborn, you might be too aggressive, you might be too fearful. You can find out right away by going live with real money. What else? And I put in here, when you identify these two things, your strengths and your weaknesses, I mean, I know what I do well and I know what I'm poor at. Early on, when I first started out, I was way too cocky about it. I thought that I was better than everybody else, which of course turned into a massive character flaw. The market basically kicked me in the butt until I finally submitted and realized I'm no better than anybody. And I don't need to try to be better than anybody. I just need to make good trades, period. Right? At the end of the day, trading results, they speak for themselves, but honestly, I don't even want to show people trading results because it's none of their business. I want to just kind of keep it all myself. I just want to make good trades and continue to grow my wealth. So focus on your weaknesses right away. When I realized I was being too arrogant and cocky, I really started to tone that down and had to work to tone that down so that it didn't come back and bite me. So, Mr. Lopez, those are some of the things that I would say on two fronts. Number one, from things you can do to prepare yourself for taking SI, which honestly, what we're doing in the first part of that is something that should be taught at every university, every human being. It should be a requirement for Americans and international folks here too. I don't want to be disrespectful, but every human being should understand the basics of personal finance and how to make your money grow for you. I look at some of the people in my peer group, and a lot of people are so underwater. They're living paycheck to paycheck and taking on more debt so they can fund their negative lifestyle. Negative by meaning every month they're getting deeper in the hole. Fix it. Find a way to fix it. Anyway, I could go on a rant there. I don't want to go too deep into that one. Let me go to some more listener questions here. I have a couple more, and then I'm going to dive into, which seems like a crypto-based show today. You guys really like the crypto stuff. Okay, we got some crypto addicts out there. What's the next one? This was from Mario, who I believe is with us today. All right, Mario. This is a great example here of you followed the rules, you did everything that you wanted to, and I think that the challenge is it just did not work, right? It should have worked, but it did not. Mario says, I took a long one. Well, hold on one second here. Before I get into this one, I'm going to another sip of my Angel's Envy whiskey, so cheers, everybody. Okay, Mario says, I took a long on my demand zone when the next candle opened below and when price went above the hammer high. Is it a pullback on a 60-minute time frame sufficient to use for this strategy for? And what he's referencing is, I had talked about, what symbol? Oh, shoot. What symbol was that? It was Caterpillar. Caterpillar. Here we go. So this is the Caterpillar on the daily. And first off, this is where I like to start anyway. Okay? I'm looking at Caterpillar, and I think if we were to break down what's been happening in Caterpillar on the daily, This is a beautiful, strong uptrend. Yep, there he goes. This is Caterpillar. Beautiful, strong uptrend since those market lows. It's been making higher highs and higher lows since March. And, of course, I got... I should close all applications during the show. It keeps popping up messages here. All right, good. I got rid of it. Now I can show you at the bottom. So March 16th was your low on Caterpillar, or close to the low. I think it was 2 days before that. Beautiful uptrend. So you're doing the right thing. You're thinking, I want to go long. Great, you should. And you should be buying at a pullback, which is exactly what it did. And I'm not going to draw a perfect trend line, guys, here, but you guys can get a general idea. I mean, come on. I know that we could draw it a million different ways, but you get the general idea. You're buying a pullback. Now, the only thing I don't like is if we look at this candle right here on the daily, it looks to me like that demand zone is going to be back down here at 134, which is why we look at things from different time frames. Here's your 60-minute time frame. Hallelujah, hallelujah. I mean, this is a great trade, Mario. It really is. And what's interesting about what Mario did, guys, is let me hide this because he took it yesterday. So I need to scroll so I can't see what happened in today's trading activity. And this is what it looked like when he made the trade. So you've got this demand zone over here. Great. I think it's a great demand zone, right? I would be happy to trade this one as well. I'll highlight it in yellow for you, right? There's your demand zone. It's a little bit tight. I mean, it's only like 40 cents. So that's a little snug. I'm sure I could pull up ATR here and you would see that it's actually way too tight of a demand zone. That's okay. And then you have this hammer formation. So you actually bought in on the hammer on this tail. Great entry. That's the best entry you could have made, right? You're buying as it comes right in that area of demand. It was a nice move up for 4, 5, 6 days. Pulls back into demand. Perfect. And then you said on the next candle, it opened up down below, and then it rallied back up. So I think you added more to it on this candle right here. To answer your question right away, it works better on daily time frames, right? Can you trade these intraday? Yes, but my rules are different, right? The rules are definitely going to be different because with the dailies, you get gap up and gap downs that might be above or below the top of that candle. And the candle, in this case, the hammer formation, is the one that's kind of steering the trade, making my decision on that trade. So it's not going to work as good because remember, intraday, when one candle closes, the next one opens almost at the exact same point. When it's dailies, you get gaps, so it doesn't open and close at the same point. So if you look at what happened, he had a stop loss down there. Let me see, what was your stop loss? I think you actually sent it to me. I think you had your stop loss on this one. Well, maybe not. It was in the email. If you look what happened today, your stop loss probably should have been down below right here. Probably below 139.22, just to incorporate those most recent lows from the sideways action. That would be a better place for it. Well, we open up today. That bottoming tail would have taken you out either way, right? There was a long bottoming tail. You guys can see this lower black horizontal line was at 139.22. The low of the opening candle was 138.77. So it would have taken you out at either level. The point here is I think you had a nice setup. I like the trade. I like that you bought it in a deep demand zone, right? You bought it in a great demand zone spot. Unfortunately, this is just what happens sometimes. And, it's not that you made a bad trade. It just had a little more sell-off left in it. So really nothing that you could. And here's why I'm happy that you got stopped out. And I'm not happy you lost money, Mario, but you got stopped out. This is great. Think of it positively. Why? Because you followed your rules. You stopped out. I mentioned the other day I was in a trade on Western Digital and I got stopped out. And of course I was frustrated because it literally hit me to the frickin' penny. I was the lowest trade of the day. It took me out and then ripped back up. And you're like, you gotta be kidding me. Well, what happened over the next 2 days, I'll bring up Western Digital so you guys can see this. Let me go daily and we'll go WDC. Right? I mean, I got stopped out at the dead low. No, it's not that. I don't know, is it drawing? I'll do snap mode because it was the dead low of the day. My mouse is all messed up, guys. When I'm clicking, it's not actually working. So let's go to snap mode, turn snap mode on. Okay. And I'll drag this. Should have been to there. 36.51 was my low. And I should have gone further. It was a bad stop point. But you guys can see that I'm glad I got stopped out because it continued to go down further. So it's great because you can look back in hindsight and go, okay, great. I'm glad I got stopped out because it could have been a much bigger loss. But I think what you did in Caterpillar was fine. You got stopped out. So what? Shrug it off. Move on. Exactly. Well, it's not a break even, Richard. A stop out is not a loss. A stop out should be a learning lesson. It's a cost of doing bits. It's an education, right? You should learn a little bit from that one. And I think what you should learn from your Caterpillar one is that you did everything right. That trade was done, I think, absolutely perfectly. The only thing is you're using an intraday 60-minute candle to use my candlestick strategy, which is really on a daily. But your initial entry was perfect. Right in that solid demand zone. At the end of it, it formed a candle. You could have done this on the next one, bought it on the breakup, which I think you did. I think you did everything right there. It's just the market just, doing its outlier and doing what it does, which is keep us on our toes. So I think you did a great trade, Mario. Don't let it get you down. All right, let me see. Yeah, break even would have been if he got out at the same price that he entered at, which I don't think he did. Abby says, Merlin, so please suggest a stock ticker for Bitcoin USD because to trade GBTC and TradeStation you need an additional OTC. Yeah, I don't know if I would. Everybody wants to trade Bitcoin stocks on an exchange. Why not just buy Bitcoin? I'm keeping a prolonged silence here. Why don't you just buy Bitcoin? Go to Coinbase, go to some other company that you can buy Bitcoin cheaply, and then buy into Bitcoin. I already mentioned and showed you guys on Coinbase, which I have an account. I have multiple accounts all over the place. But at Coinbase, it's really simple. You just set up an account, and let me go. We'll go to. Actually, I want Coinbase Pro is the one I want. Coinbase Pro. All right, let's go to Coinbase Pro. I think I'm already logged in, so let me see if I can. And you'll notice the platform looks very similar. Hopefully, it doesn't have me log in. It should save my login because I was in there recently. All right, come on. Slow. There we go. So, yeah, you notice this platform looks very similar to what we see quite frequently on any other trading platform, right? You've got your level 2s here, your order book, which is showing you, what they call it the dome, the matrix, whatever you want, showing all the buy and sell orders. Of course, it's moving ridiculously fast. You also have your transactions over here on the right-hand side. You have the chart in the middle. You can see the most recent orders that have been made. These are recent orders that I made. But I would say just open up a Bitcoin account. That's the easiest way. Stop messing with GBTC and these other ones. Maybe you can go into the futures markets as well, but just get into Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin. Why trade a derivative of something? And especially with GBTC because it's so all over the place. A lot of times you're paying way more than the Bitcoin is worth at that moment in time. It's just a problem with GBTC and the way that it works. So that's what I would recommend. I would say it doesn't have to be Coinbase, guys. I'm not that guy who's going to try to give you a link so I get extra Bitcoin for you to sign up. Just find a place where you can trade Bitcoin. This one's just easy. Yes, Coinbase Pro is fee based. I believe. Let me show you here. They keep moving stuff around. Where's the fees? So let's see. If I wanted to buy, usually there was a spot here that would give me the fees. I'm nervous here because I want you guys to see all my account numbers and all that stuff. Portfolios, orders. No, I don't think it's going to. There was a spot where it actually would show the fee. So right now, this is a $42,000 portfolio. Here's fees. There you go. So there's your fee structure for this one, guys. If you're buying up to $10,000, there's two different fee structures here. You guys notice that there's what's called a taker and a maker. This is very similar to what you're going to see in all trading instruments. Generally, when you are a maker, meaning you're providing liquidity, the fees are generally less. What that generally means is a limit order, right? If you're using limit orders. If you're using a market order, you are always a taker, meaning you're taking somebody else out of the market. You're buying somebody else's shares or selling to somebody. That's what a taker is. The fees are going to be slightly higher with that. Now, their fees have gone up. It used to be a quarter of 1%. But here you can see on this account, it's 0.5%. Well, that might not be very cheap, but I'll tell you what, if you go to Coinbase, just the regular Coinbase, where's Coinbase? Coinbase, where you at? No, I don't want Coinbase Pro, I just want Coinbase. So I have assets over at Coinbase as well. And usually initially I was using that to buy in all my cryptos, and then I would just move them over to a different exchange. But here is my Coinbase. Unfortunately, guys, it's going to take me too long, and I don't want you guys to see all my information, so I'm not going to log into that one yet. Sorry. Yeah, Tyrone says Binance is a good place. I actually love Binance. The problem is security. Not security, really. It's just not in America. So if something happens, I can go get U.S. regulators, I can get attorneys, I can get everybody, and I can go after Coinbase. You can't do squat against Binance. It's in China. It's a Chinese company that's now in Japan, right? I think that's where they moved to because of Chinese issues. So I have a Binance account as well. Security's pretty decent. Their fees are really low. It's a trade-off. You got to ask yourself, how comfortable are you dealing with a company that if there's any issue, how are you going to deal with it with Binance? I agree with both. I think Brendan and Tyrone. I think that Binance is probably one of the best. It's just there's this asterisk there. It's not an American company, and there's a risk to that. So there you go. Just gotta throw that one out there. Merlin Crypto is where I live. I live there as well. Joseph says, "What is your private key?" I'm probably gonna do that next week. I think my schedule is pretty full. I was looking for guests, and I think I got next week all filled up, which is pretty excited. I think you guys will be happy to know. You've been asking about Bob Dunn. Bob Dunn's going to be on next Thursday, which is awesome. For those that don't know, Bob Dunn is a 40-plus year floor trader out of Chicago. Always great having him on the program. I'm bringing up the calendar right now just so I can see. I put a whole bunch of new guests on, and I can't remember off the top of my head, so I apologize as I take a second here to bring up my calendar. We also have, let's see, Justin Krebs on Tuesday. That's going to be a great one as well. Justin's one of my favorites. Justin's just an all-around great guy. We had him on one time, professional golfer, but he's doing longer-term stuff, so I want to do something on diversification and something on annuities because we've had a lot of questions on that. Next week, what do I got? There's my calendar. Next week, we have Tilly on Monday, Justin Krebs on Tuesday, David Warner on Wednesday, and we'll have Bob Dunn on Thursday. So I'll probably do the... I like to keep Fridays open. I wanted to do it next week where I told you I was going to do a show on why Bitcoin's going to hit $100,000 per coin by 2022. It was 21. I'm moving to 22 just because. But yes, I am a big fan of cryptos. I think they are. If you don't have, I think if you don't have part of your portfolio allocated to cryptocurrencies, you're missing the boat. I think it should be an allocation in a small amount for anybody who's thinking long-term retirement stuff, but it needs to be considered. I think it needs to be factored in as this is a potential new asset class category, which is going to gain more and more fanfare, I believe, especially as central banks start to adopt the technology. And I do think that I'm a big fan of Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin will be my favorite of them. There are others out there that I love, like Ethereum and EOS, and even Tron is starting to do some stuff that I find interesting, but we can do a whole cryptocurrency show another time. All right, let me see what I got here. Everybody should own Trezor Cold Wallet. Yes, not just a Trezor. It could be another one, but you should have a cold wallet. Tell you what, God, I love doing Fridays as like a weekend show because it's just so open to everything. I could potentially do Friday show just all cryptos, but I kind of wanted to save that for a day during the week. So let me see how next week goes. I kind of wanted to do it next week because you guys have been asking me for it. But maybe I'll do it the week after. All right, let me see what other questions I had coming through here. There were a bunch of them. Raj says, Merlin, what's your trading style? Do you buy stock bottoms or breakouts? Yes. I am a momentum guy. I like to buy breakouts. I like to pick tops and bottoms. I mean, obviously, we know what picking in tops and bottoms can do, right? You're left with sticky fingers. So it's more dangerous to be picking tops and bottoms. But if you have a thorough understanding of supply and demand and how to map out zones, really, you're mitigating a lot of that risk and moving away from taking on too much risk. Like we saw on that chart of, what was it, FN, the symbol earlier that the gentleman was asking about on JKHY, that's another one. That's you're picking tops. That's a dangerous thing to be doing on a stock that's that strong, Heath, who asked the question. But, could you wait for the breakout? Sure. I like them all. And inherently, I'm more of a shorter-term trader. I like the short-term stuff. I think in this market, being an investor is a bit challenging because some of the chops, although you guys have seen it's just been unbelievably up for the past couple of months, but there have been just some huge down days, huge big up days, huge big down days. I am a shorter term guy. I prefer to be on the short term side, be out by market close. That said, I do carry positions. I mean, I have multiple accounts, so I've got long term stuff, I've got intermediate, but I really, my passion is the short term stuff. And in that short term, I love breakouts. I like momentum trades. If it's moving, I want to ride that wave. I'll surf it. And this is against what Bob Dunn says. But if it's a 5-minute wave to the downside, I'm riding a 5-minute wave to the downside. It's more challenging to do day trading. Day trading is definitely harder. Much, much harder than it is to sit back and watch the long-term picture take shape and ride big trends. So, there we go. Let's see. Man, Brandon, 200 bucks for your mom's crypto account, 2 years up to 3,900. Not too shabby. That's an awesome, great rate of return. Too bad you didn't do it with 20,000 or 200,000, right? Let's see, what else do I have? How do you deal with the psychology of having half your net worth in high-risk assets, Brendan? Yes, you know I like giving you a hard time because I know you're a risk taker. It's just, if that's what you want to be in, then you have to understand that it's a live by the sword, die by the sword approach, right? I can't go and take on more risk. Let me rephrase that. I can't go and expect to double my returns without doubling my risk. Now, certainly we can fudge those a little bit, but there's no way I can double my returns and keep risk exactly the same as it was, right? It's just not possible. You're going to have to take on more risk and trade more volatile assets. And Brendan is in a lot of metals, which of course have been going gangbusters, and also a lot of cryptos. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You just have to be careful because you know you're going to have some big swings. And the challenge that I see with cryptos, and this is something a friend who's been trading a long time, he's been asking me about cryptos specifically. He says, well, does it work the same with supply and demand that the equity markets do? And I said, no. You don't have the institution. So if you look at core strategy that's taught on my Trading Academy, it's really about identifying institutional footprints. Where are the big firms, the guys with big money, buying and selling? Because they're the ones who are going to turn the boat. It's not me buying 500 or 1,000 or even 10,000 shares of something. It's the guy who's buying 1,000,000 shares of something. And you're looking for those footprints. In the crypto space, those guys do exist, but it's not JP Morgan. It's not Goldman Sachs. It's not big firms like that. It's whales. It's people who have a lot of cryptocurrencies. Some might be institutions, but honestly, a lot of them are just miners, right? They're individuals who have accumulated a lot of Bitcoin, maybe early on, and they're whales. So when they go and sell 10,000 Bitcoins, all of a sudden it has a huge swing for price. A little bit harder to see on the price charts than I would say on an equity price chart. So that's, to me, one of the challenges of the crypto space. You have to be willing to stomach a 30, 40, 50% decline in just a few days. I mean, God, some of the moves in Bitcoin over the past few years have just been jaw-dropping in both directions, up and down. So, Brendan, but you know the risks there, my friend. You know that well. Let's see, what else? I'm scrolling back up here to see if I got any other questions come through. So if you got some, feel free to send those on in. Oh, yeah. Brendan says all banks are basically criminals. It's a necessary evil, is it not? I mean, you're right. Wells Fargo making fake accounts, JP Morgan manipulating silver, Canadian banks like TD issuing silver CFDs they never bought. Yeah, I know. And the sad part is, if we were to do some of the things that these banks did, we would be in prison. But they just, as I made that point the other day, they just get to pay a little fine, shrug it off, and move on to the next scam that they're going to pull. Drives me crazy. All right, I'm just looking for question marks here. Who makes a better trader, Scotch, beer, or whiskey wine drinkers? I can tell you this. I'm not a drinker per se. I just enjoy having a nice cocktail on the weekend. So I mentioned this story before, and I will change his name because I'm sure he'd be upset if I even mentioned who it was. But there was a young guy, he's about my age, on the trading floor, and he used to do all kinds of drugs. I mean, he sat there and he was trading on, you name it. Name the drug, he was on it, and I realized that you're probably better off not trading while intoxicated because your reaction times are slower, or on drugs because it's a colored screen and it's going to start looking all crazy. So, no, don't do it. All right, let's see. What else do I have? I think I had one more question that came through. No, we got them all. All right, so let me know if you guys have any other last-minute questions here. I will try to get to those, and then I'm going to go through what about low volume today. Honestly, I didn't even pay attention to it. On the markets overall, I'm looking at, when I look at that, I'm looking at things like SPY. I don't look at the typical quoted numbers, so I'll go out to something like the ES. Remember, when you're getting towards these dates, volume will roll from one contract to the next. And since we are on, it's August 14th today, you are the second week, so we should start to look at next week, all of a sudden volume rolling over, but there might be some rollover that's happening already. So let me go and I'll just show you here. Let me add in volume here. Where's my volume? There we go, up top. So average volume for the ES, and this is, what is going on here? My mouse is just not working. If you're looking at the ES on the daily, certainly it's lower. What I want to do is go to, we'll go ESU 20, because this shows you the September contract. And volume is a little bit low, but nothing, that appalling. I mean, you guys can see here 1 million contracts traded, and it looks to be the average is right around 1.5, but that's, of course, due to some heavy spikes recently. I don't think it's abnormally low. Now let's go to the December contract, ESZ20, and see what we got there. Yeah, still very low. So we haven't seen the rollover into this new contract yet. That'll probably happen next week as we get towards that finish line date. What's the maximum number of open positions that I have at one time? Gosh, honestly, that's a really tough question for me to answer in all the different accounts. In all my different accounts, I probably have 20 different positions open at a time. Right now, yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3. Actually, now it's a little bit lighter since I closed out some gold and some silver. I'm looking probably at about 12 different positions. So, yeah, and Big Eb says Fridays tend to be lower. I actually thought it would be higher today with the retail sales numbers. I thought there might be a little bit of selling pressure going into the weekend because remember, next week, guys, retailers. I mean, you've got Nordstrom's, you got JCPenney's, you have Ross Stores, you've got Kohl's. These are all the companies that are just getting annihilated right now reporting earnings, so it'll be very interesting there. So, and by the way, Mike, he says, what's the maximum number of open positions that I have at one time? I don't put a limit on it. I have no problem. You know, I would say probably about 30 be the most I would have on, but it's not really a rule. I mean, I think that the more you have on, the more distracting it becomes. So I want to focus on more good trades. But remember, I've got multiple retirement accounts. I've got intermediate accounts. I've got multiple short-term accounts. So I'm trading different things in different places. So there he goes. Do I own coins or bars? Are you talking to me? I think you're talking to Brendan out there. I am a physical coin guy. So I have gold coins. I keep the gold coins. I don't know. I don't trust anybody. You know, Brendan was just posting earlier about how these banks, they're just scammers. I don't trust them. You know, when you say that you have an ounce of gold sitting at a bank somewhere and they're a custodian for it, I don't trust it. I just don't trust them with it. So, I find ways to store my own assets. I'd rather hold them personally. I think that that's just safer. Yes. Well, but of course, Brendan, I think you're talking about 2FA, for those who don't know, is dual-factor authentication. You're actually starting to see that on a lot of trading accounts, not just cryptos, but also regular accounts right now. You should always have two-factor authentication, guys. This is basically a security measure that you can put on all your accounts, and I would definitely encourage you to make sure that you have a second factor because people can now hack. I don't know. Let me see if I can find this one real quick. One of the chief technical officer for Online Trading Academy posted something great on LinkedIn. Let me see if I can bring this one up because I'm sure you guys have seen it. But every now and again, we get these emails, on social media, which everybody's in. Let me see, EYAL. It's from Eyal Marmarelli. Great guy, by the way. If you guys don't know Eyal Marmarelli, he is just a fantastic guy. Let me bring up his post here. Oh, tell me the post is there. Dab nabbit. I'm scrolling through trying to find his post, guys, so I apologize if I don't know where it is. Where's his post? There we go. I'll do it live over here so you guys can see what I'm doing so it doesn't look so weird as I just stare off at the screen. Basically what it was a post about security questions. And if you look at these social media sites, your Yahoo, your Facebook, all that type of stuff, let me see if I can show all. Yeah, it was great. Basically it was this page that goes around to everybody. God, where was it? Has he been posting that much? Well, I apologize. I thought I had it all lined up. It was really good. But basically, it was a question of like, what's your first cat's name? What's your favorite food? What was your first car? Where did you go to school? Blah, 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 that type of stuff. And basically, all it is people send those things out because they know. There it is. I knew I'd find it eventually. Look, he said, I usually don't play these, but why not? And it's great because if you look at this, where did you grow up? Favorite color? Favorite pet's name? And his answers are, stop giving people your personal info to guess your password and security questions. So true. I mean, you've probably all filled out something on some social media site about, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite this, favorite that? Guys, you're just giving people personal information that they just don't need. All right. Let's see. Merlin, how is a 50% allocation? Hey, I would say it's too much, Brendan. You know me. I would say that it's a bit too much, but it works for you, and that's why trading works. You know the risks. You're on top of it. You know it's dangerous, but you're okay with that. That's fine. So it's fine. All right, let me give steak to my German Shepherd. He's over there snoozing right now. I'm sure he would love a steak. By the way, if you guys live in Southern California, Stater Brothers right now has porterhouse steaks for $4.99 a pound. Trivia question for you. On a porterhouse steak, what two steaks make up a porterhouse? See if you guys know this one. There's your Trivial Pursuit question for the day. As you guys type that into chat, I'm going to go and show you your economic calendar and earnings calendar for Monday. So type into chat, what two steaks make up a porterhouse? Ha ha. There you go. Useless trivia for the day. Figured you guys all enjoy that. All right, let me go to your economic calendar for tomorrow as you guys type that into chat. This is what happened today. We will go past that and go to what's going to happen. I already went through the retail sales. Here is your economic calendar for the 17th. That's for Monday. Next week is a big manufacturing day. Or manufacturing week. We have the Empire State Manufacturing number. Now, they're expecting it to contract a little bit because, remember, it was appallingly bad on that Empire State Manufacturing Index. Now, all of a sudden, it's back up to a positive number, which is great. Other than that, you have TIC long-term purchases. Those are probably the two most important things for the U.S. markets on Monday. If you look at your earnings calendar, there isn't anything really noteworthy. So we don't have to worry about that. So the earnings really start on Tuesday. And yes, it is the New York and filet mignon, which is really funny because I was at the store, and I'm a value guy, right? So if I have my choice of buying, like right now, if I go to the store, a New York steak is $12.99 a pound. But I can get a porterhouse, which is a New York steak, plus a little bonus filet on the side for $4.99 a pound. And the last time this happened, I was actually walking through the cooler at the meat department, and this lady is grabbing New York steaks. And they're like $12.99 or $13.99 a pound. And I turned to her and said, you could just get the porterhouse, for $4.99. She goes, oh, no, I just want the New York. I said, but you know that the porterhouse is a New York and a filet. You're basically getting the steak you want for $4.99 versus $12.99 and a bonus filet. She's like, oh, no, I just want New York. So I'm like, oh, okay. This is why I run the barbecue. All right. Anyway, going off on a random tangent. So, yeah, most of you guys got it. It's the New York and a filet mignon. All right, guys. I think that will do it for me for today. We're going to be under an hour show. I'm not sure. I'm going to just set the expectations right now. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to do a chart of the week for tomorrow morning. I'm going to be going out with a friend of mine. We're going to go down to the beach and have some cocktails and hopefully have some fun because I'm going absolutely crazy sitting in my house all the time. So we may not have a chart of the week. We will have Tilly Allison's Market Outlook Sunday at 1 p.m. That will be released. Again, you guys can go find all that at our YouTube channel, or say our YouTube channel, at my YouTube channel, which is TraderMerlin on YouTube. Again, she'll be under her own little grouping there. I've got a channel for her, which is called Tilly Allison's Market Outlook. You guys can check that one out. There you go. So thank you guys so much. If you have any last minute questions, feel free to throw those on through to me. Of course, if you like today's show, I always love when you guys give me a thumbs up. You guys usually are pretty good about that. If you're new, because I know we've got a couple new people here, feel free to click that thumbs up button as well as the subscribe button so you know when I release other videos. That said, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Be safe. Go out and do something, of course. Wear a mask, but go out and have some fun. I'm sure that this COVID thing is probably beating down a lot of you like it is me. This has just been a really rough time. Tilly will be on... Did I say she's on next week? I think I said she'll be on next week. I thought she was, and then she wasn't going to be on. No, she wasn't on this week, but she will be on next week. So next week's schedule, just so you guys know, Tilly on Monday, Justin Krebs talking about annuities or diversification on Tuesday. We're going to have David Warner talking Forex on Wednesday. Bob Dunn, market momentum on Thursday. And then Friday for me to do whatever I feel like talking about. So there you go, GD. Thanks for the question. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much. Cheers. I will see you guys on Monday. Have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you soon.